I still remember the weight of those roses in my hands. They were heavier than they looked. A large bouquet of deep red roses wrapped in black paper. I had spent nearly half an hour choosing them on my lunch break, standing awkwardly in a flower shop while pretending I knew something about flowers. The young woman behind the counter had smiled and said, "Samonan must be very special." She was. At least, I thought I knew exactly where I stood in her life. If you believe in kindness and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. My name is Rowan Mercer, and my wife Celeste was the CEO of a growing technology company in downtown Seattle. While she managed hundreds of employees and sat through board meetings, I worked as a public school music teacher. Our lives looked very different from the outside. Most mornings, I left the house carrying a backpack full of sheet music, while she left answering calls from investors before her coffee had even cooled down. The strange thing was that neither of us cared much about status. At least, that had always been true. Lately, though, things felt different. Not because we were fighting, we weren't. We were simply missing each other. Celeste had been working late almost every night for nearly 3 months. A major product launch was approaching, and the pressure seemed endless. She would come home exhausted, drop her heels by the door, eat whatever leftovers I had saved, and fall asleep on the couch while trying to answer emails. Sometimes I would sit beside her and wonder when we had last spent an entire evening together. One rainy Tuesday, I decided to surprise her. Nothing dramatic, just flowers and dinner. I made reservations at the little Italian restaurant where we had celebrated our first anniversary. I even arranged for my neighbor to feed our dog, so we wouldn't have to rush home. For once, I wanted to see her smile before work stole her attention. When I arrived at her office building, the sky was grey and the sidewalk still glistened from a morning shower. The lobby looked exactly as I remembered it, polished marble floors, quiet music, and people moving with purpose. I walked toward the security desk, carrying the bouquet. The guard looked up from his monitor. He was older, probably in his 60s, with silver hair and reading glasses hanging from his shirt collar. "Can I help you?" I smiled. "I'm here to surprise my wife, Celeste Mercer." The guard's expression changed slightly, not suspicious, just confused. Then he glanced toward the elevators. A tall man in a navy suit had just entered the building carrying a leather portfolio. The guard pointed toward him. "Oh," he said casually, "she's waiting for him." For a second, I thought I had heard him wrong. My stomach tightened. "Sorry, what?" The guard nodded toward the man. "She asked us to let him up as soon as he arrived." The man stepped into the elevator and disappeared. I stood there, holding the flowers while 100 unpleasant thoughts rushed into my head. I hated that they did, but they did. Long nights, missed dinners, secret meetings. Suddenly, all the little things my imagination had ignored seemed much louder. The guard noticed my expression immediately. "Are you okay?" I forced a smile. "Yeah, probably, but I wasn't." For nearly 10 minutes, I sat in the lobby pretending to check my phone. I considered leaving. I considered going upstairs. I considered calling her. Instead, I sat there feeling foolish. Eventually, the same guard walked over, carrying a paper cup of coffee. "I think I owe you an explanation," he said. I looked up. He pulled a chair beside me. "The man who just went upstairs is a counselor." "A counselor?" He nodded. "Your wife has been bringing employees to him for months." I stared at him. The guard continued. "My daughter works here. Last year, her husband died unexpectedly. She struggled to function. Your wife quietly paid for grief counseling when insurance wouldn't cover it." I didn't know what to say. The guard looked toward the elevators. "She doesn't tell people about it. Most employees don't even know where the funding comes from." I glanced down at the flowers. The ugly thoughts I'd been carrying suddenly felt embarrassing. Then the guard added something else. "She specifically told management not to announce it. Said people deserve dignity when they're hurting." A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was Celeste. "Rowan, are you downstairs?" Before I could answer, the elevator doors opened. There she was. She looked exhausted. Her hair was slightly messy. There were dark circles under her eyes. But the second she saw the flowers, She smiled in a way I hadn't seen in months. Not the smile she gave investors. Not the smile she used in photographs. Her real smile, the one I fell in love with. "What are you doing here?" she laughed. "Trying to steal my wife for dinner." She walked over and hugged me tightly. Then she noticed my expression. "What happened?" I glanced toward the guard. He pretended to become very interested in his computer screen. I laughed. Long story, that evening. Over pasta and candles, we talked more honestly than we had in weeks. She admitted she had been carrying too much responsibility. I admitted I had been feeling distant. Neither of us had intended to hurt the other. We had simply stopped sharing the small things. The next hour wasn't dramatic. No grand speeches. No life-changing revelation. Just two tired people remembering why they chose each other. Before we left the restaurant, Celeste quietly told me about several employees she had been helping through difficult situations. A single father struggling with childcare. A young programmer caring for a sick parent. A receptionist dealing with anxiety. She never expected recognition. She simply remembered what it felt like when someone had once helped her. Comment: kindness still exists if you believe even one good act can change someone's life. Years later, I still think about that security guard. Not because he accidentally scared me, because he reminded me of something important. Sometimes when we don't know the whole story, our fears rush in and fill the empty spaces. And sometimes the people we love are carrying burdens we cannot see. If this story touched your heart, please leave a like and share it with someone who still believes kindness matters. The lesson I carried home that day was simple. Trust grows through conversation. Kindness often happens quietly, and the strongest relationships are not built by grand surprises, but by choosing each other again and again in ordinary moments.